Hello everybody, good afternoon. So I wanted to talk to you real quick about when God uses pain to push you. And y'all are gonna have to kind of bear with me because it's Texas and it's summertime and I am in my car, so I do have my air on like full blast. But anyway, this came about because I was just sitting at my desk earlier and I was thinking to myself, just reflecting on like how far God has brought me. And it's so funny because as I was looking at kind of going over every different season of my life, I realized that normally before I entered into a new season, there was some kind of pain. Something painful happened because it ultimately pushed me into that next season, right? So what God said to me was, sometimes I will allow painful things in your life because I know that that's the necessary push that you need to push you into whatever it is, whether it's your purpose, whether it's just your next season, whether it's into discovering something about yourself that God has been trying to show you, whatever it is. And a lot of times we think that we go through painful experiences and it's because God doesn't care about what we're going through. But the reality is that God loves us so much and He knows the plan that He has for our life. And sometimes we don't listen. I can remember being little, and some people call them spankings, some people call them whoopings, but look, I can remember being little and being chastised for things, and it was painful and it hurt, but it taught me, right? And even Hebrews speaks, and Hebrews says that basically, you know, God doesn't chastise those who He doesn't love. So if it's happening, He's doing it out of love and because He wants to teach you and He wants to grow you. And so as I sat there thinking, I can remember so many times that and I didn't know it at the time, but looking back, I realized that there were seasons in my life that were closing, and the only way that God could get me to kind of go get with the program was to allow something painful to happen in my life so that I would close the door on what He had been trying to get me to walk away from. And for me in my life, that's come in the form of breakups, that's come in the forms of friends leaving, that's come in the form of certain jobs that I really shouldn't have been at and I was wasting time at, that's come in the it's come in the form of betrayals, of people betraying me so that God could show me who they really were so that I could close the door on that season. And I know that at the end of last year, I went through a breakup, and for me, it was painful, but the way that I knew that God was kind of trying to get me to, He was using it to teach me and to move me, was because it was painful, but not as bad as I thought it was going to be. And that's not saying that it didn't hurt losing a person that I cared about, but what I'm saying is that it was almost like a realization. And if you've ever experienced something painful where it hurt, but you could tell that something came out of it, that's God trying to say, you know what, I allowed that because I knew that would be the thing that pushed you into your next season, that pushed you into your purpose. For me, that was like the pain that pushed me over the edge, because that was that pain that finally made me say, you know what, God, I'm done wasting time. I'm tired of repeating cycles. I'm tired of doing the same thing over and over again and getting nowhere. I'm tired of the same people. I'm tired of doing, feeling like I'm doing nothing. I'm tired of feeling like I'm doing the same thing. And so for me, a lot of times, and for a lot of us, pain is usually the thing that pushes us kind of over the edge or pushes us into wherever God has for us to be. And I know before the end of last year, before that pain, I was kind of coasting along in life, and it was just, living life for me, not thinking about the fact that I had a purpose, an actual reason for being here. So my life was just kind of all about what I wanted to do or where I wanted to be. But that pain pushed me into pursuing my purpose. And a lot of times He's not able to get our attention in the red flags or the warning signs or whatever, but it's when the pain hits that He finally gets our attention, and we're finally open to say, okay, God, what are you really trying to show me? And so as I was sitting there reflecting, just thinking back on all of the different things that I've gone through and looking at where I am, which is usually what I do. For me, that's kind of like my devotional time throughout the day, is to just sit and think and reflect on what God has done for me and where He's brought me from. And as I sat there thinking about that, I was like, man, every time I was getting ready to go into a new season, there was always some kind of pain that came along with it. And it's so funny because sometimes you can audibly hear God, and he was like, yes, because you only listen to me when you're hurting. Like, some of us are really hard-headed. I know that looking back on my life, I realized I was more hard-headed than what I thought I was, because sometimes God is trying to tell us something and trying to show us something, but we're so busy doing what we think we want to do or what we think is best for us that we're not really paying attention to what God is saying do. And so for me, pain has always been a teacher, a pusher, a motivator, a mover. And that may be so for a lot of other people. It may be that, pain is what gets your attention. And so it's not that God doesn't love you. It's not that God wants to hurt you. It's that God loves you enough that he says, okay, the only way that I can get my child's attention right now, or save them from what they don't even see, is if I allow there to be a little bit of pain in it to get them to move. And so I'm so grateful for those painful times, because ultimately I would not be here. I would not have found my purpose. I would not have grown how I have if I had not gone through some really painful experience, if I hadn't fallen on my own sword, if I hadn't been disobedient and done things that my parents told me not to do. I can't tell you how many times my parents told me not to do something because they've been there and they knew, and I did it anyway, thinking that, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. They getting older and it's different and we're younger, and ended up exactly where they told me to be, right? So how many times has God been trying to get your attention or show you something, and you're not paying attention? And so pain is kind of what pushes you over the edge. It's what lights that fire under you that says, you know what, something's got to give. And so that came to me just so clearly as I was sitting there. God says, sometimes I will allow painful things because it pushes you over the edge, and sometimes it's the only way we'll pray. Some of us only pray when we're down. Some of us only pray when we're hurting. Some of us only pray when it looks bad and we need a Hail Mary. But how often do you pray when things are good? How often do you pray and just thank God instead of running to God with everything that you need him to do, your to-do list for the day? How many times do you get up and just thank God, even in the middle of a storm? I know this morning that's kind of how I was feeling, like I'm smack in the middle of some stuff, but I was just like, God, I still want to take the time out to thank you for everything that you've done, because as the song says, if he never does another thing for me in my life, he's done enough. So we have to understand that God is not a mean God. He's a good father. But sometimes the only way he can get our attention is to let it be a little bit of fire up under it, to let it be a little bit of pain, because if something hurts, you're going to remember it. So for me, I'm going to remember what kind of people I should avoid dating, because when something hurts you, it leaves a mark on you that says, you know what, I shouldn't do that again, or I shouldn't deal with that type of person again. If you touch a hot stove and you have a scar on your hand, you're going to always remember how it felt when you touched that, right? So God is such a good father that he says, I love you enough that if I have to allow you to hurt to get you where I need you to be, versus allowing you to keep going in the direction you're going in and end up hurting worse, then I've got to let you feel a little bit of pain, because it's the only way I'll get any movement. It's the only way I'll get any act right. It's the only way I'll get you to pray. It's the only time I'll get you to spend time with me. It's the only way that I'll get your attention is if I allow you to hurt a little bit. God is not trying to kill you. God is not trying to take you out. I know it may hurt and I know it may feel that way, but I promise you, he's only trying to teach you. And so the person that I am today, I would never have become had I not gone through some of the pain in my life. And some of it was pain I caused. God will allow you to hurt yourself if it teaches you and if it accomplishes his goal or his will in your life. And there are a lot of horrible mistakes that I made in my own life that hurt me so bad that they sent me running to God. And so sometimes God is trying to commune with you, and he's trying to talk to you, and he's trying to show you and reveal things to you, but he can't get your attention. So he's like, you know what? They're not listening to me trying to tell them that this person is not right for them. They're not listening to me trying to tell them that this job is actually going to take more from them than it will give them. So I got to let them keep kind of going down the road they're going in and let them get a little bit of hurt out of the situation so that they understand. And so for me last year, going through that breakup, especially, and I don't mind being transparent because some of us are going through this and we feel like we're alone and nobody else is going through it. Listen, I know how it feels to think you finally got it right. I am 26 years old, and most of my friends are married with kids or have kids or engaged. And so to think that you finally got it right in a relationship, and I mean finally got it right, and it looks good, and it looks right, and it looks perfect, and then you find out I didn't quite have it so right. There is no more crushing feeling than disappointment. Disappointment is one of the most painful feelings you will ever feel. I can deal with you lying, I can deal with betrayal, I can deal with fake people, I can deal with letting people go, but disappointment is a pain that sticks with us for a long time. And so that disappointment, that deep pain, it wasn't even about the person I left. It was like, bye Felicia, see you later, cool, you go your way, I go my way. But it was the pain of disappointment that stuck with me for a long time after that. But that pain motivated me, because until that, I had been living my life doing whatever, thinking that I was getting up every day just to make me happy, just to live, just to go to work and go home. But the reality is we have a purpose. And I had never given thought to the fact that I had a purpose until I got hurt bad enough and disappointed enough to say, okay, God, I've wasted so many years in relationships, on wrong people, with wrong friends, wrong groups of people, making bad choices. So I need to put a halt on everything, and I need to stop trying to plan my own life, and I need to just get with you and find out what you want me to be doing. And I wouldn't have come to that place had I not been hurt so badly by the disappointment of like, sometimes you get so tired that you just like, God, I'm so tired of trying to do it my way. You just show me. Just tell me what to do, because I have no more fight in me to keep on screwing it up, messing it up, doing it wrong, taking left turns. I just need you to show me what to do at this point. And so had I not gotten hurt enough last year, I wouldn't have gotten to that place where I finally said, okay, God, it's not about me anymore. What is it that I need to be doing for you? Like, what's my actual purpose? And I found it. And so God uses pain to push us in the direction of where it is we're supposed to be, to teach us, to build character in us, to show us what he's trying to show us. Like I said, we don't really listen. Human nature is pretty much, we're headstrong, we're stubborn, we're disobedient. So sometimes we don't listen to God until he allows us to be hurting, or he gives us a reason. And I know that my parents, I've had two of the most amazing parents in the world, and I'm grateful, because some of the stuff I've done, I don't know, had I had any other parents, that they wouldn't have given up on me. I don't know if I would, my mom, who's a prayer warrior, prayed me out of a lot of the things that I was going through. And so I'm grateful to God that I had really good parents that sometimes let me fall and they let me bump my own head, because pain is a teacher. Pain is a motivator. Pain is a pusher. And it gets to you in a way that red flags don't. Pain gets you to move in a way that advice won't. I can't tell you how many people gave me advice, but until that pain set in, I wasn't prompted to move. And so we have to understand that sometimes God will allow pain in your life ultimately to push you in the right direction, because if you're not listening and you're not heeding his warnings, and you're not heeding his red flags, and you're not heeding his signs, then pain sometimes is the only way that he can get your attention and ultimately push you into your purpose or your destiny or your next season. And so I really felt moved to share that, because like I said, I sit and I reflect a lot, and I think back on my life, and I'm like, man, if I wouldn't have got hurt this time. And that's exactly how I was sitting at my desk like, man, if I wouldn't have gotten hurt this time last year, I don't know that I would have found my purpose yet. I'd probably still be out in the world living how I had been living, not seeking God, not worrying about what my purpose was, not worrying about where I was supposed to be, what I was supposed to be doing. But because God allowed some pain in my life, and it lit a fire up under me, I finally got to a point to where I was like, God, I'm so hurt and disappointed that now I need to know what's my actual purpose. And so that pain was God's way of lovingly pushing me over the edge into my destiny and my purpose. So if you're going through something right now and it's painful and you don't understand, don't get angry with God. Ask yourself, what do I need to learn? What am I not listening to? What has God been trying to show me that I'm not paying attention to? Am I being disobedient in any area of my life? Is there something that God is trying to shake free? Is there somewhere that God is trying to move me? Because I can guarantee you, if you're experiencing pain, whether you caused it, whether you understand it, whether you saw it coming or you didn't, it's only to push you wherever it is that God has for you. So, guys, this has been Amanda Hill, and I appreciate you tuning in. Love you guys, and have a great rest of the day.